Hello and welcome to another episode of TomBecka.com, where everyone is exceptional, and still battling a little bit of a cold here, so my voice is not in 100% great shape. Then again, my body's not in 100% great shape, which brings me to my guest today. Matt Jackson is a bodybuilder. Yeah, now, when I met Matt, nice guy, but I'm thinking, man, what have I got in common with some big old meathead bodybuilder? You know what? But I thought, it might be interesting to find out just what makes somebody go and do what he does. What is the motivation? What inspires him? And as the conversation went on, I realized he ain't no meathead. No, he's a dedicated competitor who strongly believes in what he does. Found it very interesting. But I had to start out by finding out just how would he define himself. Are you a bodybuilder, a weightlifter? What?
Natural bodybuilder.
A natural bodybuilder.
Yes.
Okay, so that's just a way of saying no steroids?
That means that every show I compete in, I am polygraphed, and then I'm also drug tested. If I place within the top 3, I immediately off stage and take a urine test. And the polygraph is almost like a deterrent. There's been people that fail them, but the drug test, it is what it is. You can't get by a urine test, or hopefully you can't. So it levels the playing field.
Okay, okay. I would just, I guess, either automatically assumed that every competition was either, do all the steroids you want, or every competition would be no steroids whatsoever. There really is a distinction between natural bodybuilding and the others?
A pretty big distinction. I think that, there's natural federations. I compete in the NANBF, which is one of them. It's got a good Midwest presence. And then there's also different ones that, like the NPC or the IFBB, they don't have any drug testing, and it's almost like it's not fun. It's a sport, just like Major League Baseball, NFL, but they don't test, and that's the difference. We do urine tests and the polygraph before the show.
Which of the two organizations has the most members?
I would say that the IFBB, they're the biggest one in the world.
Which is what? That's the one with...
Like the Mr. Olympia contest held it out in Las Vegas.
Well, that's one that they don't drug test.
They do not drug test. And that's your big boy. I went out there to see it 2 years ago, and it was awesome. Great show. But yeah, those guys, they're not drug tested. They're not asked about it very often, and I don't think they give many interviews on it either. But
okay, so it's just, whatever.
Completely different ball game.
Okay.
Still really cool.
I want to get back to that a little bit later on, but I want to talk a little bit about... how you got into this in the first place. Okay, because, first of all, you can tell, looking at me, I ain't a bodybuilder, okay? And although I know that when I go to the gym, I feel better afterwards,
right.
For some reason in my mind, I can't even, I find any excuse I can find not to go to the gym. What is that brings you not only to the gym, but you're compulsive about it?
Yeah, I think it goes back to when I was about 18. I realized that I enjoyed it. I'd seen the magazines and looked at, man, those guys, and the women too, are just awesome. So I got into it then. You have to love to lift weights and go to the gym in order to be a bodybuilder. That's kind of a given. Mm-hmm. But on any given day, I don't feel quite right if I don't get my workout in. And that's lifting weights. The cardio, that's a whole different thing. You'll never see me out running on the sidewalks unless somebody's chasing me. But lifting weights is almost like that, a release. I get an hour and 15, hour and a half to just do my thing, and I plug in my headphones, and I train with my wife on the weekends. Other than that, we don't even talk when we train. But it's a release. It's a good hour and a half without the kids, fortunately my job is I'm in the business, but it's my kind of my sanctuary every day if possible to go do that. It's not I got to get this over with. I thoroughly love it.
And this is something that you've had since a young age.
Had my girlfriend's brothers, big giant dudes, back when I was 18, take me to the gym. I was a small guy, 135 pounds, soaking wet.
So you were the guy that got sand kicked in his face in those very magazines you're talking about.
Exactly,
okay, yeah.
Exactly. So they took me to the gym at age 18. I had just graduated, senior in high school, and I've been lifting ever since. Those two guys, they really changed the way I looked at everything. It took me under their wing, taught me how to do it. And then I had a coach in Lincoln, got into powerlifting in the early 2000s, and that's the same deal, always drug tested. But it's something that once I started doing it, I didn't want to stop at all.
Okay, now, is there any? Were you an athlete in school? I mean, you didn't play football or anything like that.
I played football for a couple of years, and then in college I played rugby, a lot of rugby, and I know the weightlifting helped that, and it was something I did for about 3 years, and it was taxing on the body. I mean, shoulders, hamstrings. But yeah, I was an athlete, played sports all my life.
Now, there's a certain type of weightlifting that you do if you just want to get in shape and muscle tone and things like that. And there's a different regimen, is there not, if you want to be competing in, muscle building competitions, right?
I don't think so.
No?
You and I could go work out together and do the same workout. We're
No,
not
we couldn't.
We're not going to.
That ain't going to happen. No.
We may not lift the same weights, but I wouldn't tell you to do any different exercise than what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Our intensity levels may be a little bit different. Our mindsets be a little bit different. But we're not going to do anything different exercises. We're going to stick to the basics.
Well, okay, now, I mean, and you talked about, your love of this and everything.
Yeah.
How do you instill, and again, I wish I enjoyed it more. Because I enjoyed golf. I enjoyed physical activity.
I hate golf.
You hate golf?
I hate golf.
Okay. Well, but I don't enjoy the idea of like going to a gym, whether it be lifting weights or whether it be, cardio and that. It just, I do it sometimes because I know I have to.
Right.
But I don't do it because I want to.
But you do the radio show because you love to. You do the podcast because you love to.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. It's your passion. You just may
It's just who you are.
You may not have a passion for lifting weights and exercising, but you feel it's something you need to do to, hopefully extend your life, and stay off of medications, what have you. But, you and I are sitting here in the evening because you love it, and I get to talk about something I love too. If you love going to the gym, you probably wouldn't be sitting here, right? So it's just about what you're passionate about, and this just happens to be mine.
I love talking to people, too, that are passionate, though.
Right.
No matter what it's about. Because you're right, everybody has a passion of some sort. And for you is when because I remember the first time I walked into a radio station. I was in about 18. I was first year in college, walked into the campus radio station, and it was like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah.
And you felt the same way the first time you started working out in the gym.
Yep. I lifted at home. My dad's exercised all his life. He had weight equipment in the basement. When I first walked into the gym with those two guys, they still live here in Omaha. I remember this is fun because I knew instantly I felt better, and I was working towards this something that I wanted to look like. I had that in my mind, and I knew that was what was going to get me there.
It was also a camaraderie of just other guys that were in the gym working out.
Yeah, that's still to this day. Go work out. Even this afternoon when I was training, there's a group of people you see all the time, and you get to be acquaintances, and then eventually friends. And some of the best friends I have are weightlifters that are bodybuilders, should say, that don't live in Omaha. They live all across the country, and we have this common passion, and we stay in contact with each other. Text on the holidays, and when spring and fall shows come around, and we see each other, it's like a big family reunion. It's a blast. So we don't get to see each other as much, but again, we share that same. We felt home, especially when we get to a show.
The impression I get, and this is an image I have. This is not necessarily even based on fact, but just an image I have are that like guys like you tend to look down on the average citizen that isn't into bodybuilding, that isn't into it in the same way you are, that maybe somebody that might just work out a little bit or is not in shape, that you've really got a superiority complex over guys like that.
Not at all. I think last night, actually, for an example, a friend of mine, went to high school with him, like you said, normal guy, had sent me an email saying, look, he follows me on Facebook, or we're friends on Facebook, and he said, the stuff that you post and what you're doing has been an inspiration to me. He's lost 20 pounds off some medications. That actually, that inspired me. I look up to that because it may not be something he likes to do, but he knows he wants to be in better shape for whatever his passions are. So I actually, on the contrary, I think it's great when I see the 300-pound guy that you would think has no business being in a gym, and he's on the treadmill plugging away, or he's lifting weights. He's doing the best he can because of something that's going on. That motivates me. Or there's a competitor here that's an amputee. She's got one leg. She's up on stage in November, and I'm judging the show. I'm like, I got to talk to her. There's something about her that's just cool. People give reasons they can't do something. But she's got one leg. And she's got a medication pump in her, and she's out there kicking butt every day and gets on a stage. Doesn't care what people think. She just does it. So I think it's different. I actually look up to those people.
Is there a common thread between people like you? In other words,
Yeah, we're insane. No, I mean...
I didn't want to say that because you could beat the crap out of me, so I didn't want to say it, but...
Yeah, there is. I think common thread is it's not the one... We've talked about the gym quite a bit. It's not the 1 to 2 hours we'd spend in the gym as bodybuilders. It's the other 22 to 23 hours in the day. that dedication is I think the mental part of it. Yeah, not everybody wants to prepare 6, 7, 8 meals for the day, carry their food, potentially skip an outing, not eat barbecue in the summer, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of dedication there, and yeah, I think there's maybe a few screws loose, but yeah.
Yeah, but now for you to compete, I imagine you do have to make sacrifices. If friends are all getting together to watch the game and having pizza and eating Doritos, you don't.
Yeah, this is the first time in 4 years right now that I'm not prepping for a show, because my preps will be, my last one was 29 weeks, so basically 6 months, over 6 months of making some of those sacrifices. But I had a goal in mind, and I had to do my best, because I'm only going to let myself down. But yeah, so this is the first time that I may actually grab a beer when I get home. So yeah, there are times I've missed out on things, but I've learned as I've gone through a couple of years now that I can still be present. I can still take part in whatever they're doing. I may not eat the same foods, but I'm still going to be able to interact, have a good time. That's something that I had to learn. When I first got into this, I was a hermit. And that's not the way to live life. You have to find a balance. And that's what I think first time, second time competitors, they may not understand. It's you don't have to shut your whole life off. This should make you better, not worse. You should be a better father, a better husband, a better wife, whatever. It shouldn't be the opposite. It should make you better because of setting a goal, showing the discipline, doing those types of things. So you don't have to shut yourself off from all society, which people think we're dumb meatheads. But, there's a lot of there's cops, attorneys, a lot of nurses. So smart people just may have a few. So
you're not the term dumb meatheads.
No, well, there's some of us. Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah. My nickname is Meat, so and that's the name of my business is Meat. But yeah, I think there's dumb meatheads out there. For the most part, the best people and some of the smartest people I've met are bodybuilders.
Really?
Yeah, mostly women, because women are smarter than men anyway. But yeah, some of the most intelligent people, teachers. Nurses, physicians. It's amazing. All different walks of life. It's not just trainers that are competing. College students. A guy that I don't want to name drop, but his name's Ryan Doris. He just got he's going for his master's, I believe. Young kid, one of the best bodybuilders out there, and he looks like, the guy's amazing. First time I saw him, I was in awe, and I was on stage with him, terrified. But he is over the top intelligent. So yeah, dumb meatheads, yeah, there are quite a few of them. But on the other hand, I've met some of the most intelligent people as bodybuilders.
Okay, you say you're not in training for a show now.
Right.
Why? I mean, is it just you just figured out you've been doing it for 4 years, take a break? Or?
Well, I needed to pull back from it. I just launched my new company. So that was one thing. I'm able to stay around the sport because I judge quite a few shows. And I promote a show here in Omaha, the Heartland Classic, which is in May. So I was able to pull back from that. My wife and I, neither of us are competing this year, although she probably should. She's the better of our. She's the best athlete in our house. She's the best bodybuilder in our home. So neither of us are going to compete this year. I just wanted to pull back and not have to worry about what if I miss a meal or I need. I don't have my meals packed for tomorrow. I have to go home and prep them till 11 o'clock tonight. I just don't want the stress. So I'm going to take some time off. Keep a little weight on, grow hopefully a little bit over the next year or so, and maybe compete in 2015.
Is there an age limit?
No.
I mean, can you do this forever?
Well, I think so. As long as you're living. Age, I think I had a 13-year-old compete in my show last year. 13-year-old girl did really well. And I think the oldest competitor in my show last year was actually my dad, 62. So there's quite a range.
But are there like age brackets? In other words,
oh, for sure, yeah.
So in other words, so the 62-year-old is not competing with a 13-year-old or competing with you or anything else.
We have the classes in our organization broken out by height. So if you and I are the same height, we'd compete against each other, and then also age. So there'd be a 35 plus, a 40 plus, 50, and a 60 plus.
Okay.
And then it's all broken out by height.
And then under 6 foot, over 6 foot, whatever.
Right.
How many people show up at these shows? How in other words, how big of a subculture is this?
Competitors or attendees or both?
Both.
So, for example, last year at the show that I promote in May, we had 92 competitors, and the capacity of the facility I was at was 777. I remember that number, and I sold 1,500 tickets that day. So it's in the parking lot. It was 72nd Street. Was it Lewis and Clark Junior High? Yeah. It was the parking was all the way down to the field. So it was good attendance. So it's a smaller subculture, but it's getting bigger. The show that we're having May of this year, we had to get a bigger facility that will seat about 1,500, and I'm hoping I'll sell it out, and we'll have over 130 competitors.
Who watches that? I mean,
spouses, friends, family.
Okay. If I go to watch this, and I've seen a little bit on ESPN, is it just like guys like you oiled up posing? Is that it?
Well, guys and girls, and there's bikini now, so
yeah.
it's even more entertaining. But yeah, I mean, there's a morning kind of a pre-judging show where the judges score you against who you're up there on stage with, and there's a night show where you give out the awards and people do some you do like your routine and things. But in the morning, yeah, essentially we're tanned, almost painted, that color, almost the color of the brown of your desk,
right?
So you look better on stage, and you go through mandatory poses. So everybody's doing the same positioning of their body, and the judges, they judge you based on how you look against everybody else. And then that could take 5 to 10 minutes based on the size of the class. Then you go off, and if that's your only class, it's the only time you go on. You could be in multiple classes, but then at night, then you get your award. So,
you say they judge in how you look. Is it the muscle tone, or is it the way you pose, the way you smile? What
symmetry? Are your legs too small for your shoulders? It's kind of how symmetry is the first thing you look at as a judge. You want to make sure that everything kind of is proportioned, and then muscle. The way it looks is your tanning, spot on. We all, bodybuilders like swimmers. We shave our bodies, make sure the presentation is there, but you look for symmetry, muscularity, and the kind of overall package. And then it's you are judged against everybody else. And I think that's the hardest part is people are concerned about winning in first and second and third. In the end, you're really just competing to be your best, but there are probably 10 other guys up there with you.
Okay. You talked about your wife.
Yeah.
She also competes.
Yeah.
As a bodybuilder. Was she?
She's a bikini athlete.
What is that, a bikini
so
athlete?
So bikini would be the least muscular. It's what you'd see on most magazines. And then for women, there's a figure, which is more muscular, leaner. You'd start to see the veins, the six-pack. And then there's women's bodybuilding. So she's on the bikini side of it.
Okay, so basically, she's not all puffed up or anything, right?
Not on stage.
Well, no, no.
Right.
No, in other words, yeah, because I've seen pictures of some women bodybuilders who've got, she don't
look like
32-inch biceps.
Yeah, she don't look like that. Oh, that'd be kind of cool, but no.
It would be cool.
It would be cool. I love that.
Really?
Yeah.
It takes all kinds. I guess. Yeah, I don't think if I had a woman that was that muscular and the big body, I wouldn't do it for me.
It's cool in the fact that I think the dedication for women to do that, to get that big to where a man would go, ooh, is impressive. Whether you like it or not, it's still impressive.
So the dedication is what you...
Yeah.
So for you, it sounds like so much of this, what you're talking about, is not really physical.
No. It's 20% physical. The mental part of it is the biggest thing. And I think why some of the best people I've met in this sport, we have the same mindset or the same mental approach to not only this, but to life. It's just full throttle, and you see things through to the end, and then you move on to the next project or goal, whatever it is. So I think it's that the mental part of it is the most. Yeah, when I compete, the day of the show, other than seeing a bunch of my friends and having fun on stage, isn't the most fun I have. I have the most fun for those 29 weeks leading up to it. It's almost like boot camp. I never was in the military, but I think I would have actually, because I'm a little nuts, liked boot camp. How far can you push yourself without breaking down? And then when you do break down, then what do? Do you quit or you keep going?
You talk about projects. You've got a new project as you talk about your new business.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, my nickname is Meat. It stands for my business stands for Make Every Day a Transformation. And you mentioned the people that never want to compete. They're everyday lifestyle people. So I'm working with both competitors and lifestyle people that just want to get in better shape. We work on everything from weight training, which is essential, types of different cardio, and then nutrition, which is huge. Most people, they don't know what to eat, when to eat it. Should I have this carb? Should I have more fat? Because there's so much data out there. They don't know what's what. So we try to tailor it to what those people, what their goals are and what their history is. I can't give you a meal plan, using my air quotes here, and it's not going to work for you unless it's for you. It may work for your neighbor, but it's not going to work for you. It's got to be specific for the person.
Well, as somebody that at various times in my life have worked hard to, be in better shape and that, you talk to different people and everybody's got different, this is either the best food for you or this food's going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And it seems that, the average person doesn't know what to do.
And I think I was talking to my mom, because my mom's one of my clients, and she's not done a lot of exercise lately. She used to be a marathon runner, but anymore, she's gotten out of it a little bit. So I said, our first step is going to get you back in the gym because you got to lift weights. And the second step is let's just take common sense approach to your nutrition. Alcohol to a minimum, 1 or 2 times a week. You're not going to, she's retired. She wants to have her, a couple cocktails, a glass of wine. But common sense approach. No fast food, no fried food. Cut out the soda. Just those little things. Once we get that down, then we'll move on to bigger things. Then we'll really get more detailed. But it's a common sense approach. Fast food isn't good for you. Fried food isn't good for you. There's so many different things you can think about. But for the most part, for everyday type of people, just use common sense. And exercise, hour and a half, if you can, every day. But just move. Move your body. So it depends on the person who I'm working with. Specific for my business. I've got competitors that we get really, really detailed. And I've got other people who work in their home and don't do exercise at all. I have her getting up every 20 minutes and doing body squats, walking around her house, and then she sits back down. She said she feels better. And we're trying to work on her common sense approach to food. No more sodas, that kind of stuff.
I find it fascinating, and as somebody that has dealt with weight issues my entire life, I find it fascinating because we talk so much about it, and we know that America is getting fatter and fatter and all that. And the more we talk about it, the more we obsess on it, it seems the fatter we get.
It gets worse, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's I almost think sometimes if we didn't talk about it, just by being natural, we'd end up being healthy.
Exactly. It's not. There's a science to getting to a point where you're going to get on stage in a little next to nothing bodybuilding thing. But on the other hand, there's got to just, like you said, if we don't talk about it and we just use common sense, I think we'd do better off. Is it almost like the hunting and gathering? Is it good for me? Do I have my vegetables? Do I have my fruits? Do I have my lean meats and my good carbohydrates? It's just, it's really can be that simple. And then as far as you want to take it, you can make it more complicated.
Okay, now you're talking about being healthy, working out, being a bodybuilder, and being healthy. Mm-hmm. But yet, as you pointed out, the bigger bodybuilders, not necessarily worrying about their health so much. They're worrying about their muscle size, right? Mm-hmm. What about these guys? The guys that maybe are doing steroids and are doing other sort of enhancement drugs to get to that point. What are they like compared to what guys like you are like?
I think the mindset's got to be close to the same. There has to be that full throttle attitude, but I've never said I want to. They've made a decision, just like I've made a decision to stay natural. Whether they've made a decision not to use performance-enhancing drugs, that's on them. That's a decision they made, and I can't judge anybody for that. It's just that was the decision they went to. And for a lot of the guys that are at a top level, they're making their living at how they look. In a sense, I am too, but not in that way. I'm not going to be on the cover of a magazine.
What kind of a living can they make at something like that?
The top bodybuilders in the world, again, we're only talking maybe 20, 30 guys.
Sure.
There. Millions of dollars a year, sponsorships, magazine stuff, supplement companies, tons of. They make tons of money.
Like that guy in the Geico ad. Have you ever seen the bodybuilder?
Kali Muscle.
Who's that?
His name's Kali Muscle. Kali Muscle. He's a YouTube sensation. The guy's awesome. Uh-huh. He's a stud. His videos on YouTube are awesome. Yeah, perfect example. And he's not one of the guys I would have said that's in the top 30, but he's taken himself and branded himself, and he's making a great living. I enjoy watching his clips. He's a riot. He used to be in prison.
Really?
Yeah, he was. His new book is called. I should send this podcast to him. Maybe get a little pub. But it's from inmate. No, what's it called? I forget the name.
I'll Google it.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the podcast, I'll give the name of the book. But you mentioned the prison thing. There are probably a lot of guys in your line of work in bodybuilding that have got a criminal past, right? I mean, because if you're in jail,
potentially,
if you're in prison, not much else going on. But
if you have weights, if you have weights, and that's kind of one of the bigger, I don't call it a fad, but prison style training. And I don't even know what that means, but I do know this is if they have is that actually penitentiary style training. And
really?
Yeah, if they don't have weights, they'll use whatever's around. I'll put you on my shoulders and I'll squat. So different ways to being creative of how to work out, because some prisons and jails don't have weights anymore. So they'll get creative on how to lift weights. But the best example on how to explain what that is at least that I've heard is if you and I have an hour to work out, we know we're going to have an hour tomorrow probably, or maybe later on in the day if we don't get it in. Those guys have 1 hour to go do their thing. They're going to bust their butt that whole hour. They're not going to stop. They're going to do as many sets and reps as they can. And I think that's what it comes down to. They're just working harder. And that's why some guys come out of prison just yoked.
Yeah.
And they eat, tuna's like a commodity in prison because it's a protein source. You can trade it. I never want to be there.
Yeah, no,
I'll go to my own gym.
Yeah. I hope I never have to worry about that.
Yeah, not at all.
But okay. But now what about is there guys like you're making a living now training people and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I would imagine there's probably also a decent living to be made for guys at the intermediate level too, right?
Yeah.
Just training and personal training, that sort of thing.
I mean, I think that's people ask me kind of what my business model is. And for the most part, I have competitors that know how to lift weights. They go to the gym, the same passion as I do. They, for the most part, understand training. We may have to tweak it for them, and I can give them recommendations and kick their butt, once a week on some as they get closer to a show. But on the other hand, not everybody has sat down and in their spare time and read about what the body. Conveniently, my wife's got a degree in dietetics and nutrition, so I ping a lot of things off her. But I sat down on Monday, had a question come up I didn't know the answer to. I sat down on Monday and read about it for a couple hours just because I wanted to learn more. So that's kind of the next level is people, this was me 4 years ago. Got into it, had no idea. I did everything wrong 4 years ago. Everything wrong. And now I wish I could go back and do it all over again. But I will in 2015. You just keep learning as you go. So I take people that know how to train, have done a show or two maybe, or thinking about it, and show them how to eat properly and not starve themselves, not get rid of water. They can eat carbs still. They don't cut sodium. None of that weird stuff that is the common misconceptions is they're going to starve themselves. I have ladies that I'm training that eat 3 times the amount of food that you probably do on a daily basis. But if they do it right,
because they're burning up the carbs,
burning up the calories, the exercise, and
I remember hearing about how many calories Michael Phelps when he's training. How many? It's like
8,000.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
bone lean.
Yeah, if you're working it off, it doesn't matter. So you're right. I mean, it is diet and exercise. I mean, we have all these ways of trying to lose weight or look better and all that, but it really does just boil down to the basic diet and exercise, right?
Diet, exercise, and I think again going back to it mentally. I always ask all my clients, tell me what your why is, because your why and my why are going to be different. It just is. If they say, I wanted to do a show because on my bucket list, give me more than that. There's got to be more than that. If it's to make your ex-husband jealous, perfect. It's a great why. You're going to be motivated. I don't know what that is, but everyone has their own story, and so it's the diet, the exercise, and then to me, I can give all the guidance in the world, but if they don't follow it, I have to know the reason, what their why is. So when they get off track a little, I bring them back to center and remind them of their why. And usually they're right back on track.
How long does the average person work out with you? In other words, New Year's resolution, boy, I'm going to get in shape.
Right.
So you get all those phone calls saying, train me. How long before they say, I think I'm going to lay on the couch and I'll call you later?
I've been doing this full time just for about 3 months, but I've been doing it part time for about 3 years. And I took on a client in 2011. She trained with me all of 2011, all of 2012, and then competed in 2013 in May. She just had a baby. This is a long story, but she just had a baby, And whenever she's able to go back to work and be able to work out, she starts with me again. So that'll be 3 going on 4 years. Since I've been full time, I've not had anybody quit because I don't want them to quit. If they quit on me, that's fine. I don't want them to quit on themselves. So again, figuring out the why, and if it's not a good fit, that's fine. I want them to find somebody else that will help them get to where they want to be, not to fall back in the rut. And a lot of times it's a self-esteem issue, or they don't feel good about themselves, because I don't want anybody to go through life like that.
Right.
I've been there at 135 pounds soaking wet and potentially getting my butt kicked wherever I went. That was my motivator. That was my why. So, hopefully I have a bunch of long-term clients. I know that's not going to be everybody, but I try to do my best.
Would you turn down somebody if you
Absolutely.
didn't feel their why was legit?
Turned somebody down today.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It wasn't a right fit, I think, personality-wise. I know that there is no way I know everything, period. I still go to a prep coach. When I go through my competitions, I still have a prep coach. He taught me a lot. He's like my mentor and one of my best friends. Brian Ahlstrom is his name. I still go to him because I need help. I know that mentally when I get closer to a show, I can't do it on my own. So I still go to him because there's no way I can learn everything. And this person today, I knew no matter what I said, even if I knew deep down her darkest secrets, she wasn't going to listen because she was like kind of a little, almost a know-it-all a little bit. And so, yeah, even as a startup, it's kind of a startup business and wanting to take as many as I could, I had to say no because I just didn't feel right.
You don't want to go back to the shows here a little bit because I asked you a little bit. We didn't quite get into it too much. Okay, I understand. Guys like you that want to work out, want to go on, compete and everything. Fine. I understand the having myself a big urge to compete. I love competition.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that. Who watches these events? In other words, is it just family members that are going to support you? Are there people that just love the physiques? Are they lonely guys looking to see some hot babe in a bikini? Hey. I mean, who goes to these events to actually watch them?
There's people that bring. I mean, I bring the first show I did. I think I had 30 family. I have a huge family. I think I had 30 family members up in Des Moines. I mean, I didn't place. I competed terribly, but I had the biggest crowd presence, which was awesome. Made it fun, at least for me. But I think, family, friends, training partners that don't compete, people from the gym, people that are interested in lifting weights, and maybe you're interested in competing, but just don't know a whole lot about it. But family, friends, people that are competing maybe in other organizations or competing later in the year. So you get kind of maybe the guys want to meet women, but no, I think it's mostly friends, family, acquaintances, and people that are kind of on the edge about what it's all about. I say, come to the show, check it out. If you like it, you'll probably fall. I mean, if you think you're going to like it, either you're going to fall in love with it or you're going to hate it. There's really no in between.
Okay, so if I were to go to one of these events and just going to see what it was like, okay, what would I be seeing?
So at the morning type show, you would see competitors going through their own mandatory poses. So then they face the judges, they turn to the side, they face the rear, and they face the other side. So judges looking at each competitor, each class, and how they look. You'd see a bunch of people wearing fake tan. And it takes...
Do they have... I mean, this sounds a stupid question. Can they have tattoos? Is that...
Yeah, I've got a lot of tattoos.
I wasn't sure if they got disqualified for that.
No,
or something
not at all. Depending on the placement. I mean, if it's something's on my shoulder and it maybe affects the way the muscle can look, I mean, you can score up and down a little bit, but no, a lot of people now, everybody's got tattoos. So, you can have them. But then at the evening part of the show, what you would see is, for the most part, those same competitors going through some type of presentation, because that's where it's kind of a show. That's where most people come and watch. Bodybuilders do like a routine, 30 to 60 seconds of their choice. It's kind of a free-for-all, whatever they want to do, within reason. A lot of people that can dance, they'll go out and do some type of really entertaining stuff. Women come on and do what's called a T-walk. That's in the shape of a T. So they're able to show kind of their own flavor on what they put together over the last, 15, 16, 17 weeks that they dieted. So that's kind of more of the show part of it. That's where there's an MC that tells, when the competitor comes out, announces to the crowd who it is, kind of what they do, if they want to thank anybody. So that's more of a show part, and then they get awards. usually 1st through 5th, get a placing or a trophy that, whether trophies are just trophies.
Have you ever won one of these shows?
I've never won a show. That was part of the reason I took this year off too. Is I know I need to go back and make some improvements on some of my different body parts. I need to work on my legs a little bit. So my wife's been kicking my butt in the gym. So no, I've never won. Best I did was up in Des Moines last June 1st. I got second, but I got second to a guy that is phenomenal. Great competitor. He outposed me. He looked better. Completely happy with losing to him because he's a great guy too. But I got second, and that's the best I've placed. My wife, on the other end, has done. She did a show up in Norfolk. Won that one, and then 3 days later, kind of found out she was pregnant. So I don't know if she was pregnant on stage or what happened, but we both competed at that show. So she got pregnant, took a while off, had the baby, and 12 and a half months after the baby, came back and won a show down in Liberty, Missouri last year. So that's why I say she's better than I am.
No,
she just goes to win.
Did you meet her through bodybuilding?
I met her at a gym in Lincoln. We're in high school or in college. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we met working out. I was kind of dating her friend, and I realized
you did the friend.
I did the switch.
You did the switch.
I'm the master.
My God, nobody makes the switch.
Kind of dating her friend. She's gonna kill me if we put this on the air. You're dating her friend, then I realized, man, I like. My wife's name's April. I like April better than her friend.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of hitching on with her friend. We trained. We worked out together a lot.
Uh-huh.
And we still do. It's kind of the something that brought us together. And I competed 2 years before she realized, I think I can do this. That's what people get. They watch it in their head going, I look better than that person. It's kind of what she did. She's like, I think I want to do this. So she did and ended up, she works with a different coach. She does. I can't do her. She has another coach that she works with. Brought her in, and she won her show back in April. So we didn't meet competing. We met lifting weights. But again, that was the common bond. And we still train together every weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
What kind of a stigma is there on women who are doing this? In other words, okay, I mean, it's socially acceptable, I think, more so for a guy to be doing this. I mean,
I think it's becoming more, again, in that subculture maybe, and trying to get out into. That was one of the things I had written down, actually, is it's becoming more acceptable, I think. And somebody put something on Facebook today about, I wish women would stop saying, I don't want to get big. I don't want to lift weights because I'm not going to get big. It doesn't happen. I'm taking a whole year off just to try to improve one of my body parts. And I'm a man with higher testosterone than any woman, hopefully, ever has. Uh-huh. You're not going to get big. I think that's the biggest thing is women now are realizing, hey, I can lift weights and I won't get big and I'll actually look a lot better. If that's a look you're going for. And I was going to pull up a picture and show you, but you can lift weights as a woman and you're not going to get big. I promise.
It all depends on what your weight. I mean, how much you're lifting, repetition, all that stuff goes into it, right?
A lot of variables. But I can tell you that every Saturday, my wife and I, we go and train chest together. Every Sunday, we go and lift legs together. Yes, we're using different weights just because our strength is a lot different. But she, from a percentage of body weight standpoint, is lifting probably pound for pound more than I am. So what's hard for me is just as hard for her. Yeah, the weights are different, but she's working just as hard with those weights that are hard for her body. So she's lifting heavier percentage-wise than I am. So it's a lot of variables, but women can lift as heavy as they can, and generally speaking, will not be the muscular, unattractive, or quote unquote unattractive female that you see in some of these in a massive magazine, or the stereotype. Right? They won't be the stereotypical huge female bodybuilder that's icky. Do
you, as a couple, when you socialize? Mm-hmm. Do you socialize with other bodybuilders primarily, or do you have friends that from all walks of life, or do you tend to hang out with other people that work out at the gym all the time?
A little bit of both. I'm also a motorcycle, I'm a Harley fanatic, so it's weird. We're either with bodybuilding friends or with my motorcycle friends. So it's a little bit of both, but we've got some great friendships within this bodybuilding community. The godparents of my youngest 2-year-old, we met them through the gym. They're both pro competitive athletes in a different organization here in Omaha, and they're our best friends. So yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, we hang out together a lot, but when we do have people around us, yeah, it is. If it's not our family, which they're very understanding of this crazy sport that we do, we are with somebody that usually has a like mind.
You mentioned your dad is also competing in that. Okay, other members of your family, are they also into this, or just your dad and you and your wife?
My whole, growing up, my family was active. Both my parents ran marathons when I was younger, so I think I learned that just a healthy, active way of life from them. My dad has competed now, I think 3 or 4 times. He's going to compete in my show in May, the Heartland. My mom, like I said, she's one of my clients. We're starting to work on her again. My brother, he's what I call a weightlifter. He'll never want to go and diet. I mean, he'll leave the gym. He's going to kill me, and he's going to go through Chipotle because he wants to eat. He's a big dude.
But he lives for weight,
just for fun.
See how much he can press and all that.
And I do too. But at the end of the day, at one time or another, I'm going to diet for a show. And he probably never will. He just enjoys going to the gym and lifting weights. Same thing that got me started. So I'd like to get him in that spot whenever he's done being kind of a chubby guy. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's stronger than I am. I'd like to see him do it. My sister is probably of my siblings. I've got a younger brother, younger sister. My sister's probably the best athlete of all of us. Great track athlete. She used to train with my wife in the mornings at like 5 a.m. Genetically gifted, strong. I wish I had her genetics. She's just ridiculous strong. I don't know where she gets it. I don't know why I didn't get any of it. But yeah, I think we became active, or just realized this is the way we need to live. I got that from my parents, and hopefully I'm passing it down to my kids now.
Are your kids working out in the gym yet? How old
I've
are
got
your kids?
a soon-to-be 9-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old. We take our kids to the gym with us. They go to the cool playroom, but I can't wait, and I don't know when it's going to be, when I'll take my 9-year-old to to go lift weights with me, but she'll do push-ups and sit-ups. We got a little gym at the house. She'll jump on the trampoline and then drop down and do some squats. And so I think she's getting it, but hell yeah, I'll take her to the gym.
Does she think it's cool, mom and dad competing in this sort of thing?
Yeah. When we'll go, she'll come watch us, and she knows we're going to the bodybuilding show. Every time I go to judge one, she's like, "Oh, are you competing or are you judging? Because if you're judging, I'm not going to go. I want to go watch Dad." So yeah, she gets it, and she's got her favorites that aren't. One of my buddies in Des Moines, Scott Michaels is his name. He is my daughter's favorite competitor. So is Scott Michaels competing? I'm like, what about me? What am I, chopped liver? He actually, and he was he's beaten me every time he's competed against me. But yeah, so she understands. She knows she knows my poses. She loves going through, and she knows the mandatory poses that bodybuilders do. So yeah, I think she gets it and she likes it.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Last question here. All right.
Shoot.
Not really a question. More about giving you an opportunity now to give your best sales pitch. Okay. To anybody that doesn't understand the bodybuilding mentality or doesn't understand the love of what you do the way that you do, your best sales pitch to try to explain to them the idea of why you would put yourself through all that pressure and all that, deprive yourself of all that stuff just to put on a Speedo and pose for a while. Okay?
It's actually smaller than a Speedo, but I think the biggest...
I'm sorry.
It's smaller than... Right.
No, I'm sorry.
I teed that one up for you.
Yeah, you did.
So, the biggest... I'd answer 2 things. First, if you have any inclination of learning what it's about, come check out the Heartland Classic, May 17th out at Millard West High School. We also have a Facebook page. But what kind of motivates me to go through 29 weeks, which is essentially, that's a long time to not have pizza, to not go out and do this normal, again the air quotes, normal activities of society, is just to see how far can I set a goal and reach it. I think that's all it comes down to. Because if I give up on that, I've given up on myself, and I can't do that. I have to be able to follow through with whatever I've said. If I said I'm going to do something, my buddy Michael here in Omaha, when I told him I was going to compete after I watched his wife compete back in 2010, he's like, "You'll never do it." Oh, I was doing it because he said, "You're never going to do that. You can't diet," because I was like my brother, big guy. So I realized if I'm going to say something, I'm going to follow through and do it. And what would possess me to go through that process and do it is just proving to myself that I can. Something I've always wanted to do, but never thought I could. So I think that was the biggest thing. And I don't know what it is for other people. That's just what it was for me. And I enjoyed the strategy behind it. I enjoyed the people I met along the way. Social media is huge, like we just talked about before the show. You get to meet all these cool people. They're going through the same stuff. You get to kind of lean on them as they go through it. So it's really the mental part. Can I be strong enough to do this when I have all these outside pressures telling me, hey, I can't, or hey, that one piece of chocolate isn't going to kill you, but it may.
And again, what amazed me about this, and I didn't expect this from the conversation, is how this is so much more mental than it is physical.
Yeah, I don't want to get up and, when I'm 8 weeks out of a show, I need to really, that's the point where it's either do or die. I know I have to work my butt off from that point on. I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and do cardio. I just don't. But I don't know what gets me out of bed. That's, you find your why to get up out of bed. And then you have to train again later the day. For the most part, you usually do in 2-a-days. So, yeah, it's 100% mental. Are you going to pack your meals, or are you going to wing it the next day and potentially go off of your diet plan? So it becomes extremely mental, and organization is key. You have to have everything in line. But I think in the end, it makes for, like I said, a better spouse. It better, because if you do it right, you're going to be a better spouse, a better parent, a better friend. In the long run, you will, because of the characteristics you gain by going through something like that with yourself. Because mentally, it's huge. The physical part is if you enjoy training and going through that, that's a set aside. You're going to continue to do that regardless. But it's the mental part that's huge.
And there you have Matt Jackson. His company is called Meet. Make every day a transformation. Hey, if you enjoyed this, spread the word. Tell your friends. Let them know about TomBecka.com, where each and every Sunday we introduce you to a new, interesting person. An everyday guy or gal that has an interesting, unique, extraordinary story to tell. Because everyone is exceptional. Everyone's extraordinary. And everyone has a story to tell. Join you soon here again at TomBecka.com.